the most courageous thing that we can do in midlife is to stop performing our goodness and to start choosing to be our own authority. And midlife is offering us this really beautiful opportunity to renegotiate our life.
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm Michelle Perda, mom of three, wife, marriage coach, and host of this show. I help couples move from reactive patterns to intentional partnership using my connected partnership framework so you can feel more connected, supported, and get back to feeling like an us again, all while raising kids. If you've ever felt like you and your partner keep having the same arguments on repeat, or like you've slowly become more like roommates than partners, you're not alone, and your marriage is not broken. The truth is, most couples were never taught how to navigate conflict, communicate effectively, or build a strong partnership. And that's exactly what we do here. Now let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm so excited to welcome back Mikki Gardner. She is a somatic life coach, and we're going to be talking about something real right now, okay? I am 41 now, and in my Facebook feed, I am noticing a lot of friends, past and current, they are experiencing life changes right now, health-wise, marriage-wise. And it's crazy to think that we are midlife now, or at least I'm midlife. I'm not sure how old you guys are, but I'm midlife now. And with perimenopause, with all these life changes, there's just like this sense of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my life? What's going to happen to my friends? You know, like they say, one in however many couples will end up divorced. And I'm noticing that now. I'm definitely noticing couples are dropping like flies. And I want to talk about that today, about how couples experience so many changes during midlife and how to support those who are going through that, but also to support people who are about to go into that phase of life and let you know like what you can do to not have such an abrupt realization overnight. So we're going to talk about that with Mikki Gardner. But without further ado, welcome, Mikki. Thanks so much for coming back on the show. I'm excited to explore this very, very relatable topic that women, men are going to experience. And for those who are new to you, can you please share with them where you live, how old your kids are, and what led you to become a somatic life coach?
Yeah, well, thank you, Michelle, for having me back. I love your podcast and just all the work you're doing to really support women and men and marriage and families. And so I really appreciate that. So I like to say that I'm still from Detroit, Michigan, although I am now living 10 months out of the year in Orlando, Florida, where my son, who just turned 16 2 weeks ago, is in Gulf school here. So we have had an upheaval. I just turned 50. I am a single mom. I've been co-parenting for 12 years. And I really started life coaching after my divorce. And, you know, it was hugely healing and helpful for me while I went through that process. And something I became passionate about and have later become a somatic life coach, which is slightly different in that somatic work is just body work. So it's really connecting to our bodies and the wisdom that we each hold within us when we're able to really connect and hear the messages that our body is constantly providing. And so I do a little bit of life coaching and then that somatic work to really help. I mostly work with women to sort of move on their journey through life and midlife.
Love it. I mean, for those of you who have worked with me or even been around here for a long time, you know how I feel about somatic stuff. I happen to also use that in my coaching. It is life-changing.
Life-changing.
I really think that as soon as I had somatic work done, like on me and also by me, it was just like, it opened up so much for me in terms of healing and growth, and I will never be the same. And I'm so grateful for that kind of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for all that you do for your people.
Thank
You're
you.
literally changing the world with that, one person at a time.
Well,
Um,
that's what we're all doing, right? Try and help.
yes, exactly, exactly. Okay, so let's get into this. So you
Hmm.
are ahead of me. So you have seen the changes that people have been going through in your
Yeah.
friend group, in your family. And so I would love to hear from your perspective. Why is it that people experience this change where it's almost like overnight, all of a sudden it's
Mhm.
like, I don't like you anymore. Like, I don't know why we're married. I don't think we should be married. Like, why do I hate your guts?
Yeah.
Um, and it almost does seem like it's like all of a sudden it was like they were fine, and then boom,
Hmm.
they're not.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like their friends are like, "What? You're getting divorced?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
What's going on?"
Yeah. Exactly. Right. I think sometimes it feels like it's out of left field. And I think when we're really honest with ourselves, often it isn't, right? And I think there's many layers, and we can get into why it happens in midlife. But on the first layer, women have been conditioned to fulfill a role, right? And so this isn't about politics, it's not about anything else. It's just the atmosphere in which we live, right? And I think a lot of high performing, high achieving women, which I'm sure listen to this podcast, are extremely capable, extremely responsible, extremely steady, do everything to keep everybody else's life, their homes, their marriages, everything running. And when we are doing that and when we are protecting everyone else and managing the emotional load of all of that without support, without acknowledging that, without maybe even our own awareness of how much we're doing, and we call it over functioning at times, we become quietly exhausted, right? And I think a lot of women are just like, I'm tired, right? I'm irritated. I hate the sound of his chewing now, right? Like it's like the amount of clients that come and they're like, I couldn't take the chewing anymore. I'm like, was it the chewing? Right. And we're like, kind of like, I try to make light of things, right? Like, and have some fun. But at the end of the day, I think overall, women have been taught to be good, to ask for permission, to get consensus and agreement before we do anything. And we are constantly told to look outside of ourselves, right? And so when we do that, we inevitably create doubt. We lack trust in ourselves. And so midlife to me is the point where it becomes so heavy. It's like every time we put another role, another job, another expectation onto ourselves, it just becomes too heavy in midlife and we can't bear it anymore. And so a lot of people will talk about kind of a midlife crisis, and those don't happen out of nowhere. They happen from years of silence, from years of saying yes when you mean no, years of lack of boundaries, and sort of years of this conditioning that just doesn't fit. And so then we get to midlife, right? And I'll try not to go down the rabbit hole, but starting in your 30s, we lose testosterone, right? It just starts to drop. Then we start to lose estrogen, right? Estrogen is that hormone that does many wonderful things. But when we are younger, it actually helps us wire to be caretakers. It keeps us looking at how can I take care of the family unit? How can I take care of the babies? How can I keep society running? When we all lived in a little village together, it was really helpful. But in midlife, you start to lose that. And there's a reason, because we no longer are required physically to maintain the family unit and to procreate. And actually, by dropping those hormones, what's left is access to our wisdom, access to what we truly want and believe. But we've never had moms and grandmothers kind of modeling this wisdom, this stepping into this next version of ourselves. It's been the opposite, right?
Until
We've
now.
until now, right?
Until now.
And now we're starting to understand all of this. So I think that the most courageous thing that we can do in midlife is to stop performing our goodness, to
Mm-hmm.
stop asking for permission, and to start choosing to be our own authority. And a lot of people will be like, oh, maybe you just want to go live your own life. So many women will send me a note and they're like, I just want to live in my own little house with my own little stuff and nobody around me. But maybe you actually want to live with the people that you have in your life, just not the way it's working right now. And so midlife is offering us this really beautiful opportunity to renegotiate our life if we're willing. And sometimes if we're not, and we ignore it long enough, crisis can happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love being 40. Like, it's
Oh,
like
40s are so good.
this veil of like,
Hmm.
I have a lot less fucks to give. And it's
Correct.
very liberating.
Oh, it's
Like,
amazing.
it's great. And I will acknowledge that I got started with my personal development journey earlier than
Hmm.
a lot of
Hmm.
people in my generation because it was
Hmm.
just not normal, right? Like, people don't do that. In my generation of millennials, like, you just do what you're supposed to. You follow the path that's set out for you. You go to college, you get a job, you
Hmm.
buy a house, you get married,
Yep.
you have a family, and they don't talk about what happens after that,
No.
right? And so it's like, oh, that the pinnacle? That's the goal. But what happens after that? Because when you have kids, you're still in your 30s, maybe your 40s, and then what? Right? You have a whole rest of the half a life, if not more, hopefully, ahead of you.
Hmm.
And I know that what I've done with my life is not quote unquote traditional, right?
Hmm.
Quitting my job and started my own business to be a life coach. Like, what in the hell is a life coach even? Like, I didn't even know what it was when I first set off on that path. Thankfully, my friend Katie was like, I think you'd be a great life coach. And that was it for me. It was like, oh, I can't turn back. Now I have my eyes open. I
Hmm.
know what it is that I want. I learned how to set boundaries. I learned how to communicate well. And I don't take that for granted. And so for the people who had more of a, I guess, normal adolescent life, what can they do if they're like, well, I can't go back in time and fix anything, but like, yeah, I am resentful. I
Hmm.
am annoyed. And this is just how we do things in our family. How do I single handedly change all of this? That's a lot
Yeah.
of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure and it's also an amazing opportunity, right? And so I think this is the interesting thing. And this is what really in my work I started to notice is when people would come for co-parenting, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're likely either thinking about in the process or already divorced and wanting to know how to make it work. And I inevitably ask, okay, so when you were married, how did you resolve conflict? How did you manage boundaries? How did you let them know that these things weren't working? And 99% of the time, I didn't. And so that to me was the red flag is we're actually not having conversations about what is required in a relationship. And it doesn't matter which relationship, any relationship with human, a friend, at work, marriage, kids, all of
Mm-hmm.
it. We have to be willing to learn how to speak up, to individuate, to have our own sense of self, what we want, what we desire, what we need, what our boundaries are, and then learning how to tolerate when other people have their needs too. And how do we manage that gap? Because I think what we're seeing in midlife, right, is a lot of women saying, fuck it, I'm
Mm-hmm.
done, right?
Yeah.
And I just,
They're
one of my
tired.
clients, tired. And one of my clients just sent me a note about something in Self magazine. Women in their 70s who are single are like the happiest people in the world or something. I'm like, okay, y'all,
Okay.
let's not glamorize, right? But that's what happens. They're like, I just want this, but it's how, so to your point, how do we not get to that point where we're living on an island and that's the only way we can be happy? How do we start to really learn how to speak up, say what's on our minds in a kind, respectful, honest way?
That part.
And that's the part, because most of us are like, we either think we stay silent or we blow it all up. There's an in between,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's where we want to live. Nobody wants to live over here, in the silence, because we've already done that for decades and nobody wants to do it anymore. But that doesn't mean that we have to become an out of control, like just raging person. And I want to also acknowledge midlife, the hormonal shifts
Mm-hmm.
are intense. And if you don't know what's coming, it can be really frightening. And I think for me, I joke that nature is cruel, that you should never put like a 40 to 50-year-old mom
With a
with a
teenager.
teenage boy
Mm-hmm.
alone in a home, or like just a teenager. I'm like, we are like walking hormones just beating up on each other. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember one morning I had already been to yoga. I'm driving my kid to school. It's 7:10 in the morning, right? Like, and I am screaming at people on the
Mm-hmm.
road. And my son's like, Mom, why are you so angry all the time? And I was like, Me? Who said I'm angry? And he's like, and it was a wake up call to me. And I said to him, I go, I thought I was managing that. You saw it? And he's like, Oh, I see it. And I thought, oh man, like,
Uh-huh.
okay. And so I think I just want to normalize that too. We
Yeah.
do have a lot of hormonal changes depending on where you are in the process. And so creating awareness, learning, having conversations, understanding what's going on, but then also what are the tools and the strategies I need to do to be able to also share that with the people around me? Because the more they know and the more we know, the more empathy, the more compassion, and the more honesty we can have to try to actually move the needle. And I think when we come to relationships and marriages, they say that your taste buds change every 7 years. Well, actually, everything changes. We live in 7 year cycles. And so, by that, we need to renegotiate our relationships and our marriages. And I tell people, like, if you haven't divorced your husband at least once, you're not doing it right yet. What I mean by that is that we have to end the relationship that's not working,
Mm-hmm.
right? So maybe when the kids were little and maybe you stayed home, maybe he was working, maybe the other way around, right? But as lives change, rules need to change, responsibilities need to change, emotional labor needs to change, physical labor needs to change. And so unless we're willing to have these conversations, we just get stuck in these boxes. And to me, that's when women like are so confined by the box, they just freak out and leave.
Yeah. And I mean, you and I were talking about this before we hit record. It's like we as moms are always on top of what our kids need,
Mm,
right? From even as simple as, oh, we're going into winter. Do they have the clothes that they
mm,
need? What kind of clothes do we need to cycle out of their dresser into storage or donate them to someone else that, has younger
yeah.
kids or whatever? But for us, we don't think to do that. And we have this like underlying assumption
Hmm.
that what worked when we were dating should, in theory, work even now. But our marriage, and even us as individuals,
Hmm.
we live life in seasons, right? Like we have
Absolutely.
different responsibilities that come up, we have different needs, our
Hmm.
awareness of ourself grows. And so we learn more about what we're needing and wanting, what we don't
Hmm.
like. Like you said, we build up the courage to say yes, to say no, to things that we never did
Yeah,
before. And it does take courage to do all of that, to
absolutely.
be true to yourself.
Hmm.
And with marriage, it's like I talk about attunement a lot,
Hmm.
right? You've got to attune to yourself. For those of you like, what does that word mean? Is that music related? No, it is not music
No.
related. Although it is similar to tuning your instrument, right? I used to play violin, shocker, Chinese, growing up playing violin. But you had to tune your strings using a
Yeah.
pitchfork. Okay, like how does that note sound? Does it sound the same? And so with your marriage, things will get to the point where it's like, oh, this doesn't work for us anymore. We need to
Yes.
upgrade. And so it's like you do need to evolve as a
Yep.
couple, as a person to
100%.
fit your season.
Yes.
So I know that there are people like, well, okay, you said that 99% of the people that you work with didn't say something. Well, I did, and it didn't work. Okay, I'm going to throw out a caveat there. Saying something in the moment, in reaction to something, does not equate to talking about it.
Correct. Okay, and I'm going to throw an and in there. Talking and then living it, right?
That.
It's the action, it's the words, your words and your actions line up. That's integrity, right? And so it's not really like, did it work? Did I get the result that I thought I wanted? You actually probably need to go through the discomfort of not knowing and get to a destination that you had no idea about, right? Like that, we've got to stop thinking that we know where we're headed. We don't know where we're headed because we're not supposed to know. That's not our job, right? Like our soul knows where we're headed because they signed up for this. Our job is simply to walk the path. And we do that in integrity when our words and our actions line up. So if we're saying we're really sick of something and we're telling the person we're really sick of it, but then we continue to tolerate it, right? Why would they not go with, they're going to go with what's worked all this time. And I always tell people, when we start to have these conversations and shift, the one thing that you are guaranteed is discomfort. And the other person to not like it. When we hold a boundary, the people around us are like off balance because when we change, right, they have to shift too. And so we have to assume that everyone's going to kind of be off kilter for a bit. And that's actually normal. But we think when they don't jump right on board that we did it wrong or they're never going to get there. No, sometimes we have to be willing to stay in the discomfort long enough, but to just focus, are my words and my actions lining up? And if they are over time, that's going to give you an answer that's different than I just keep saying something and nobody's listening.
Yeah, consistency is definitely a thing. Like everyone, no matter who you are, we're going to take the path of least resistance. And so if a dynamic works a certain way, our brains are not meant to put 100% of its energy into every single thing that we do, right? It loves to put us into autopilot whenever possible to conserve energy. And so if it's like, well, for the last 10 years, this is how we've done life. I know where I can comfortably sit in this role. This is what I do. And then this is what you do. And that's what creates that pattern. But as soon as you notice that pattern doesn't work, and you communicate that you need something to shift, you also have to remember you've been thinking about this a lot longer than the person that you're now talking about it with. So they need time to adjust. Right? It's like moving something in your room. It's like, well, why isn't it there anymore? But then over time, they're like, oh, now I know I have to go here to get it. And then it becomes the new normal.
Yes.
But I will say something else that's common that I'm sure you've seen as well, Mikki, is when you start to make changes to how you interact with people, like you start saying no a little more, or you start saying yes to yourself a lot more. I should say, and you say yes to yourself a lot more. Some people aren't going to like that. And I give you permission to bless and release them because the reason they were in your life is because they got something from you. It was convenient, not because they saw you for you. Because anyone that fully loves you as a person, respects you, and wants the best out of you will celebrate. Maybe still need to have that adjustment period, but at the end, they will celebrate that you are actually doing what's best for you.
Yeah.
And that includes your spouse, by the way.
It does, right? And I think they might need the time to get on board. But it really is, I agree with you 100%. It's being willing to stay with it and trust yourself that what you desire and need is good for you, but it's actually good for everybody. Everybody. And some relationships that go through this, they don't end up together. right? And not all marriages, like we've been fed this idea, right? I mean, I live in the land of Disney now, right? So that there's this magic person who's going to make everything right, and then you're going to be happily ever after. Most relationships aren't actually meant to do that, right? And some marriages aren't meant to last forever. And sometimes you get beautiful gifts out of them, and then it's time to move on. And that doesn't mean that it failed. If it makes you both stronger and your family stronger, then divorce can be something that is a good decision. But when we are reacting and we're running from something, it's never going to be a helpful thing, right? And I think what you're describing too is we have to just really learn how to go within, not live on autopilot, like really refuse that autopilot and allow yourself to get to know you. What is it that I want? What does my intuition sound like? How do I dig out all the truth and the messages that I have within me, because you do, and relearn how to make decisions?
Yeah.
Because right now we make decisions based on what we're told, what everybody else needs or wants, and for the comfort of everyone else, right? And we usually are making them with pressure, with panic, and most of the time self-betrayal.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah. So we have to relearn how to make a decision. And by doing that, right, it's about learning how to trust yourself so that you can navigate through it. So you can let other people be uncomfortable so that you can have conversations that actually expand and open you guys up. Because you don't have all the answers for everyone inside of you. You have your answers. Your spouse has their answers, right? Like your children have their answers. And how can you be that presence that can really allow them to step into that? That's a beautiful relationship to be in.
Yeah. And this is your life.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very draining to live life for other people.
100%.
Right? You said what did you say? Not abandon, but like that was what I was thinking of. Like self-betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are betraying yourself every time you're like, oh, I would rather do this. But your outward behavior and whatever you speak into existence is in opposition to that. You are betraying yourself. And how many layers of that is going on right now? And I will say, like, yes, it can be scary at first for you to be like, oh, but I don't want to upset them. I don't want to look like a bad friend. I don't want to look like a bad spouse or bad mom or bad whatever. Okay, but what are you doing to yourself, right? I came across something from a mentor years and years ago. If you're going to disappoint someone, let it be other people and not yourself.
Yeah.
Because that is the heaviest weight you can carry. People on their deathbeds, they will say, if they could do it over again, they would do it in a way that they had no regrets or less regrets. And betraying yourself is essentially creating just brick by brick, regret after regret.
Yep. 100%.
And it's so much lighter when you don't do that. When you say yes to yourself more, when you look within, like, what is it that I actually want? Like, how often do you ask yourself, well, how do I feel about this? What do I want to do? What would feel the best for me? It doesn't mean that you're going to be like, fuck everyone else, I'm going to be selfish. No, but like at least let yourself weigh in on the process of decision making. Put your voice out there, right? And that's also the doorway to more intimacy with your favorite people. When you can show your true self to your friends, to your spouse, that's what deepens connection, not this facade of who you are. You're like, I'm a Stepford wife. I love everything. I'm okay with everything. You're not. Right?
You're
and
not
vulnerability.
No,
you're not supposed to be, right?
No.
You're supposed to be vulnerable at times, obviously not everywhere, right? But with the safe people. And that's what creates that meaningful, fulfilling, just like, wow, I love my life kind of relationships.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to acknowledge two things. One, with the self-betrayal piece, women, we get praise by self-betraying.
100%.
We get accolades, we get achievement, right? We get all of those things, and that's a hard thing to give up. And so being used to that is difficult, and it gets a bad rap, but just being willing to learn how to understand, what does it even feel like to make a decision that's aligned for me? Most of the time, it creates ease. Like the pressure kind of releases a little bit. When we think about what's a yes and what's a no in our body, a no is heavy, a yes is lighter, right? And so when we start to actually be willing to make these changes, to start to look within, to start to slow down and like broaden the scope, it actually just creates more lightness. And more lightness allows you to have more in your life. And I think the other beauty of midlife is that, you know, as women, we come into our sort of richest, most passionate, most joyful life in our 50s and 60s. And so, if for nothing else, like do the work now so you can like really enjoy the juiciness of what life can be in the second half.
Yeah.
Right. And
And
so,
be the example for your kids. Because
yes.
I'm sure for those of us who, you know, I shouldn't say those of us, all of us who were raised to think about other people, I know you put your kids as like the top priority in your life. Well, would you look at them and be like, I don't care what you want to do. You need to care more about other people. Like I highly doubt you would be willing to say that to your child. Like, okay, when they're not putting their shoes on and you're like, come on, I need you to put your shoes on.
Sure.
That's a different issue. But like, I'm sure you wouldn't say, hey, in order for me to love you, you have to betray yourself.
No.
Because we know how that feels like.
Right.
And I'm sure you don't want to pass it on. And what better way than to live and breathe that and model them through action and consistency, not just from telling them, well, what do you want? If they constantly see yourself, well, it's okay. I'm okay with whatever you guys want. Like you have no opinions, but deep inside you have a million opinions.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I was just thinking while you were talking, when I got divorced from my husband, well, I was only married once, so him, and my son was 3. And I immediately went from, okay, so, you know, there was a betrayal. And so I was like, okay, the marriage as it stands can't work anymore. So we decided that divorce was the option. I skipped over any healing that needed to happen and I just rebranded into like, I'm going to be the best divorced mom. I'm going to be the best co-parent. I'm going to rock it. Right. And I did a really good job of rebranding. But what I realized when I did that is I didn't allow myself any time to process what had happened, to heal from the betrayal, to get angry. I've had very little anger. And people are like, oh, it's so amazing that you can, you know, still like get along so well. My anger came later because I tried to suppress it for so long. And then I got into another relationship, same patterns, different person. Right. And it's like, that's when I realized, oh, if I'm not willing to address what's going on. And last summer, I realized I've been living my entire life by this sort of new set of rules that I gave myself. And nobody actually knows me. No one. My ex-husband, his wife, my son. My son had no idea why we got divorced or any of it because I was protecting him, which I do still hold that he doesn't need to bear the weight of our marriage, right? And by doing that, right, I thought I was doing this great thing for everybody. And I did, but I also didn't allow myself to be seen, to be known. And when I started to see that, it was like, oh, ew. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it felt. And so I had to sit down with my ex and his wife and say, the way that we've lived for the past 10 years has been great, but it actually doesn't work for me anymore because I'm not going to hold all of the secrets of this family for everybody else. And so I literally was like, here,
Mm-hmm.
I'm handing you back what's yours, and
Yes.
I'm going to keep what's mine. And we're going to see what happens.
Yep.
And at first, it was an uncomfortable conversation, as you can imagine, but it was actually really healing for all of us. They were
Yeah.
just here visiting us in Orlando. We had a great time. They stayed with us. Like, it's a good relationship. But it got better once I started being honest. Once I started saying, you know what? I need to take care of what I need and be true to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to let everybody else have their reactions and have their opinions and do their thing. And it's been really uncomfortable, mostly to watch my son navigate
Mm.
this like kind of new knowledge
Yes.
as a teenager.
Yeah.
And, they have to renegotiate their relationships just like I renegotiate ours and theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been this interesting time, but I just say that because we need to be willing to have the trust in ourselves to be honest, to have the courage to say, like, what isn't working anymore.
And I bet little you was so damn proud of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Part of it is that reparenting, right? Like you said,
Yes.
we would never say those things to our kids, but why do we say them to ourselves? And are
Mm-hmm.
we willing to be as loving and gentle and boundaried and strong with ourselves as we are others? And I think it can create really beautiful relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my 16-year-old, we co-parent him, and it's been forever since he was right under 2. So he's only known life with 4 parents.
Mm-hmm.
And we're best friends, all 4 of us.
That's great. Yeah.
Not a normal story,
Mm-mm.
but it wasn't always that way. And
Yeah.
it really did shift because we matured
Yes.
and we were willing to have those hard conversations, even if it was like, oh, but it's in the past, just let it be the past, just move on. Like, no, we went there, like,
Yeah.
we apologized to each other, we shared our perspectives and how it got to be that way, and it was just like so healing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny, there'll be times where it's like we're all hanging out and our son will come up and he's like, I didn't know you're coming here. I'm like, yeah, because we didn't come here for you. We came to hang out with each other. I mean, to the point where we moved, to the other side of the country. I was in
Mm-hmm.
California, like
Yeah.
born and raised, and now I live in Georgia, of all places, because we wanted to keep the family
Yeah.
together. And like we traveled together as a whole big family. You also traveled together with just us adults. And it's like, it's
Yeah.
amazing. But that couldn't have happened had
Mm-hmm.
we not been courageous enough to step into our truth and be able to have humility, be able to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the beauty behind what can be waiting for us in midlife, is that veil opening up or lifting,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to call it, for you to be like, I'm not available for that shit anymore.
Yeah.
And step into this like new, better, more vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
honest version of you to
Yeah.
you and everyone around you, and just watch how beautiful the relationships can be, especially if you're only used to more surface level friendships, which I
Mm-hmm.
say most people have.
100%.
Most people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very sad to say, but most people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you an example. If anyone could benefit from like a real life, real time example. A couple of my really great friends here that I've made took me out to my birthday dinner yesterday. And
Oh, happy birthday.
thank you. And one person was supposed to go, but they couldn't. And she was so apologetic. I was like, no, girl, like, no worries. I know you had a full day. I was happy for her to have said no very last minute.
Yeah.
Would I have wanted her there? Absolutely, but not at the expense of her.
Right.
So I was quietly celebrating her for doing that for herself, to give her that downtime, because I literally saw her pulling up into the neighborhood as I was leaving. And so she would have been rushed and not felt good, and she deserves to have her time, whether it's just with her or with her husband or with her family, just settling into the night. And I know that in the past, I would have been hurt. Like, what does that mean about our friendship?
Yeah.
Why didn't you come? It's my birthday. But as I get older and as I do more work on myself and give myself more permission to like do what's best for me, and believing that what's best for me is best for everyone around me because
Yeah.
I show up differently, right? Having that positive ripple effect, I no longer put that on other people.
Mm-hmm.
I can wish she was there and celebrate her for doing what's best for her.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps someone out there listening. That's just what happens when we learn to do this work for ourselves. We can extend it to other people.
Yeah. I love that example. And I agree with you. We're constantly modeling with every decision, with every action, with every word, sort of who we are. It was recently, my son and I were in like a CVS, and he said to me, he had this like big shift, right, of what he needs to do because he's a golfer and doing all these things. But he's like, Mom, I'm getting to a point in my life, he's 15 at the time, where I've got to start making decisions for me and not what everybody else around me. And this is like right in the middle of all these changes I've been making. I'm standing in the CVS and I'm like, fuck yeah, yeah, you are. And he's like, what is going on with you? And I'm like, I'm so excited. People are staring, but I'm like, dude, yes. Like, you got to be willing to say, hey, Mom, I'm not doing that, right? Like that doesn't, I'm like, push back, right? And teaching him how to do it, obviously, like we talked about before, respectfully, right? It doesn't mean that you have to burn the bridge, but you can say, this bridge doesn't work for me anymore.
Yes.
Right? And
absolutely.
So, and I think it's only like our kids get to see it, our friendships. That woman probably felt so good, so much closer to you because you were willing to say, I get it. Right?
Yeah.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Good for you. And I think the more we can do that in our own relationships, in our home and outside, it's how we shift things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you said earlier, like, we all grow up thinking this is just the way you do it.
Mm-hmm.
This next generation, they're coming in so much more aware and evolved than we were, right? Like they are. And I think because of the work that we've done, they're understanding that they don't have to like sort of abide by all of this BS that's out there, right? And so when we can help model that, we're just giving it even more fuel to be everything that they need it to be. But we have to choose ourselves and we have to be our own authority before we can ask other people to do that in our lives.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing being able to listen to how my kids handle things. It's like my 6-year-old like has so much more emotional intelligence than I had as a teenager or even in my 20s. And I'm like, as your mom, I love this, but also as your mom who's having to deal with this, I'm not loving this.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like a double-edged sword, but like
100%.
I'm so much cheering her on for like who she's becoming. And I'm like, yeah, girl, you use your voice, but also don't use it with me. Please,
yes, don't use it with me.
But yeah, I mean, so just to package this up really nicely for you guys, if you are approaching midlife and you're like, how do I midlife proof my marriage? What are like some key things that you want the listeners to take away to be able to empower them to start making those changes and start seeing it instead of having that abrupt or what seems like abrupt awakening where like, I hate my life and what I've done with it. What do I do now?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just being willing to ask different questions. Right? First and foremost, I think when we're younger, we're asking sort of what's good for everybody, right? Or how do I want everyone else to see this? Or even how do I want my kids to view me, right? As a mom, or how do I want my partner to see me? And it really turns to who do I want to be? Who am I becoming? Right? When we think of that, because we all have it, if we stop and we get quiet, right? It's what is the desire? Who is it that I want to become? When you think about who you are when you're 75, what do you want her to say? Well, okay, so if we know that, then really it's about our words and our actions lining up. And so how do we really start to put ourselves in a position to allow that to happen more frequently. And it takes a little bit of stillness, it takes a little bit of slowness to be able to hear what's going on, right? We have to be able to interrupt the patterns. And so I would just start to ask questions differently, right? Ask yourself, what's good for me and them? What do I want here? And a lot of times we don't even know. You ask a woman what she wants, she's like, I don't know. I just know I want to live in a house all alone. Okay, well, we can start to separate that, right? We can start to understand, and it's asking yourself in the moment, what feels good? What creates ease in my body and what creates heaviness? And how can I go more towards ease? And I think it's really coming down to what are those little daily, I call them non-negotiable. What are the habits? What are the things that we need to do that actually set us up to be better versions of ourselves? And that's mind, body, spirit, right? All of it. We have to do the mental workouts, the physical workouts. And midlife is a spiritual awakening. It just simply is. And so we have to get really clear on what we believe and who we want to become. So I would say if you could do one thing, it would be, what is one way you can build yourself up, right? So is that drinking more water? Is it having going to bed on time? Is it a morning routine? Is it meditation? Is it exercise? Like, you just pick one, and then you start to, like, again, go through and learn how to make decisions that actually are aligned with you. Decision making is a huge process and something we have to relearn. And so when we can do that, we can learn it in one area and then we can start to use it everywhere. And I
Love
think
that.
talking, right? Like talking to your partner, being willing to say, like, hey, when the sink is full of dishes, it actually stresses me out. And then I start to get really in my head. And then I get resentful. And then I don't want to be anywhere near anybody. So could we, like, back the train up and figure out who's putting them in the dishwasher while I'm doing other things, so that I actually have more emotional capacity to be with everybody, to be honest about it,
Yep.
right? Yeah, somebody might say, well, it's silly that it's just the dishes in the sink, just put them away. No, it's actually your experience of it that matters. And how can you start to communicate that part?
Yes. With my couples that I work with, they so often can't see an alternative reality possible. They're just like, well, it's like this. If I do that, this is going to happen. They assume the worst.
Yes.
And so they don't dare do anything different, and they live with the frustration, the resentment, and they're just like, I don't know. It's like, well, that's why you're here. That's why we're working together, because there is, like, I can clearly see the path to a different reality. And then when they get there, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this was possible. But it is. So part of having those questions that you ask yourself be different is asking yourself, well, for the things that are heavy, what needs to change in order for it to feel lighter?
Yep.
Right? Take it to that next step and help yourself get to, well, what could be possible if this one thing was changed? It doesn't have to be this, like, grand thing that changes. It's often just little tiny shifts that need to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful for this conversation, Mikki. Thank you so much for coming up on here and talking about this very real thing that all of us are bound to go through, and helping equip us on how to navigate it in a smoother, hopefully more fulfilling way. For those who are interested in what you do and want to learn more from you, where is the best place to find you?
My podcast, Led from Within, is a great place where I talk about all things midlife and relationships, and then also social media, which is just my name, Mikki, Mikki Gardner. So
Amazing.
Those are the two spots right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you, Michelle.
Of course. That's it for this episode. Please go connect with Mikki. And if you know someone that could benefit from listening to this episode, please share this with them. Do them a solid. This is all stuff that everyone could benefit from listening to, especially if you want the best for them. Then empower them with the tools to be able to navigate midlife in an easier and more,
Mm.
I don't know, like confident way. Because that's all we want for you guys. We want you to live your full lives out loud and just like be happy, like actually
Yeah.
truly deep down happy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So go connect with her, share this episode. If you love this show, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I would be so, so grateful. And I'll catch you back here on the next episode. Bye. If you're listening to this and you're starting to see your own patterns a little more clearly, that's exactly where change begins. And you don't have to figure out the rest on your own. I got you. If you want help taking what you're noticing and actually shifting it in your relationship, check out the show notes for next steps to help things move forward in your marriage, whether that's a guide, a masterclass, or booking a clarity call if you're ready for support. Stay tuned for the next episode. See you there.